'cause I'm snowblind, can't live without you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Toy Lips. Today we're taking a look at these lips, the Hasbro Marvel Legends series X-Men Sabretooth from the Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure wave. Love me some X-Men, so I actually pre-ordered a case of these back when. They're just showing up. In the wild, I've seen a couple, seen a lot of Vulcans, but I am excited to have this Sabretooth. Looking pretty enticing in the package. I always enjoyed this yellow-orange color. Bunch of extra pieces for the Bonebreaker. This nice artwork on either side of the package. Full on the back, along with this read-up. And a rundown of the rest of the figures in this wave. Some fine print here on the bottom. An X stamped on top, and we will get into this box.
You're rushing, honey. You're gonna choke.
Out of the package, the selfless Sabretooth comes with no personal accessories, but 3 pieces for the Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure. Taking a closer look at Victor Creed here, the mutant called Sabretooth. He is a thing like Wolverine with enhanced senses and cellular regeneration. So this costume is based on his early appearances. He actually first appeared in an issue of Iron Fist, issue 14 back in 1977. And he was drawn by John Byrne. And I feel like they should have tried harder for like a John Byrne head sculpt. This is really well done. This is really well done, nicely detailed. The teeth came out really clean, the gums there, and they put some work into this, but I don't get it. I don't get it. It's fine, but I would have preferred that tighter John Byrne-esque look, you know, with the whited out eyes and so on. You guys know what I mean. Also, they've put this on like the Wonder Man body. You know, it's a tough call. The one part of my OCD is like standardize it. If it's a character, put them all in the same body, different costumes, whatever. But he was drawn a lot less bulky in his earlier appearances. Still a large figure, though. Still a larger character. You can see here, it's unique pieces from the elbows and knees down. This is an overlay. This will come off of there. Pretty nice. Comparing it right up front to the other Sabretooths, you see here is the 90s one on the Hyperion body, and this is my favorite look for Sabretooth. This is great. I know the Hyperion body has its problems, and for bulk, it's like, what would they do? They could put it on that. That would be the only thing bigger, the next thing bigger than this. And, you know, people would have been pissed about that. I get that. That sucks. They've been toying with does it go on the Omega Red body, or, you know, surprise, the one from the Age of Apocalypse, you know, which is huge and fantastic, and I wouldn't mind this one redone on either of those aforementioned frames. But for this one, it's a stylistic choice. You could put it on there; it would look good. But I can appreciate this. This is really cool. He stacks up the way he needs to with characters like Wolverine, I think. Wolverine is a much smaller character. We'll of course have a comparison section, but when I was a child of 8 years old, it was characters in these costumes that I found on store shelves, you know, for like $3.99. Grandmother, would you please buy me this toy? Anyway, here's a couple of comic images illustrating what I mean. These are early appearances here, and it looks great. I think they've done a really nice job with this figure. I absolutely want some accessories. Come on now. Come on now. Some fisted hands, whatever, swappable head from yelling to not yelling, and both of them not this head, which again looks really nice, man. This is really nicely sculpted, but it's just everything else about this too. This fur is really nice. There's a wash in there. No, overall this figure looks really clean, really tight. I love the paint applications. I wish we had some pinless technology going on here. You know, it's a simple design here, this sort of jumper, this one-piece thing he's wearing here, with little holes cut out for his toes, and fur flourishes, the way that it all matches, the way it ties it together with the nice wash in the fur. I'm really enjoying that. Peg holes on the bottoms of these silly feet. Fingerless gloves, man, he's really put together, you know, you gotta give it to these guys it's just he's this ruthless killer, but he's really meticulous about his dress, man. This is clean. So for accessories, of course, he comes with nothing of his own. They elected to give him some more Build-A-Figure pieces. Right on. But of course, everybody likes accessories. Closed fists would be a gimme. I think in this case, an optional head, like a neutral and a yelling head for a Sabretooth would be dialed. That would satisfy a lot of, because otherwise there's nothing sort of external that he needs. But it would be cool to see some of this going like the NECA route. I know that would satisfy a lot of people, that the price increases are sticking in their craw. You know, we hear about the painting and so on. I love more paint, better paint. But also too, I love the little touches people like NECA put in with random stuff. I mean, you guys are doing it too. The picture with the Wolverine figure, of course, but Sabretooth, I don't know, piece of birthday cake, you know. Somebody ought to come with the carbonadium synthesizer. It's just hard when it's a character that you dig on and you could get some mileage out of, and you think, what are the odds they're gonna do another release of this character? Anything approaching soon. Do you know what I mean? This is fairly definitive. Again, the head thing, you get a custom head online, I guess, but when they don't come with any accessories, you're like, well, they're not gonna repackage him somewhere with some accessories. You know what? Maybe like a first appearance 2-pack with that classic Iron Fist that everybody wants. That would be a cool swerve on like putting him with Power Man or whatever, you know? Checking out the articulation tooth. You can see this head here. It's up on a ball joint with a hinge. Got this short haircut, allow him to look back this far for lunging poses. That's pretty nice. And he looks down this far. And it's up there high enough that you get some pretty good tilt on that too. It's just the world we live in now. Everybody's got great tilt. What? Coming down here, ball jointed shoulders though on this body that is years old at this point. Perfectly serviceable. You know, often you don't discount that they have refined and fine-tuned. Like, I think on a lot of the old ones, you'd bring this shoulder up and it would risk digging in there. But this seems fine. It seems fine. Don't want to scratch up that creamy paint job. Come up to a T, they'll rotate all the way around, so will this bicep cut, double jointed elbows. Even with this newly sculpted fur there, you still get great range. Hands are hinged back this far and forward in this far. Yeah, look at that. Same thing over here because the hand is very similar. Okay, and there goes that one. Sabretooth character, of course, it would have been cool to see some butterflies. They'll hear that again and again, and they'll give us a new 90s Sabretooth on the Omega Red body. Just you watch. That's kind of big, though. I like the Age of Apocalypse one. Either way. Just don't put that new 90s Sabretooth on this body. Where we have the standard ab crunch coming forward this far, back this far. That's really not much at all. Waist twists here. Legs don't come out very far to the sides. Front. Not back very much because of the butt sculpt either, but you have an upper thigh cut on both sides and a double jointed knee that you get pretty good range out of. It's going to get stopped a little bit because of all of the fur. Would have been a good place for this cut, but that's not a thing. Just really making sure. Okay, ankles, they come back this far. They're restricted a little bit by that fur, but it's softer at the ends. And it's harder than it looks. And some rocker. So this is nice. No surprises. Butterfly shoulders would be the only thing that I would add. You always want better range on your legs, but that would add a lot for a Sabretooth. Now this nasty new Marvel Legends Sabretooth is standing just about 6 5/8 of an inch. Let's talk about scale again for a second. The thing is, yes, different artists will draw characters. They'll have different proportions that they'll put down, and perhaps not even ones that they intend. You know, the visual medium, it's an art, and so on. But what doesn't change are the character's rated heights. I mean, typically, they changed Wolverine's weight. He's got metal bones. You know what I mean? Anyway, Sabretooth has a rated height of 6'6". That's where it gets sticky changing the bodies. I'm not a freakish stickler, but the 1/12 scale is a really nice way to check this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's 6'6", 6.5 feet. So you're looking at 6.5 inches at that ratio. So he's right in there. You know what I mean? This is actually right in there for an appropriate Sabretooth height. For comparisons, first I want to throw up the other two major Sabretooth bodies. On the left is, of course, that rockin' 90s Sabretooth on the Hyperion body. The size is pretty good. It's kind of awful. The body itself is old, and it's hard to get the legs nice and all of it. You know what I mean? Also, the head is way too high on there. That's the one I would predict they'll be redoing for us here at some point on a nicer, newer body mold. Again, they talked to Omega Red, but then they came at us with the AOA one on this even larger frame, which looks good. No butterfly shoulders. It's the thing that hurts it for me, but he looks really bold, really clean. Speaking of, let's just go ahead and throw in this monstrosity that I was chipping away at here. Here is the Omega Red stripped down a little with a Sabretooth head. That's kind of how that would look in there. That's not bad at all. You see, it's actually a little smaller than this. But he's got the butterfly shoulders, importantly. The legs are just freakish, you know what I mean? But, I mean, this guy works out. And of course, because you've got to. Here he is next to a couple of classically clad Wolverines. Wolverine's supposed to be like a foot shorter. A little more so. So this fits pretty well. Taking it back to the early days, Mr. Tooth trying to find himself. Here he is with the Constrictor. Nasty old ball jointed figure, but it does have butterfly joints. How about that? And we have yet to be blessed with a first appearance Iron Fist or a classic Iron Fist. So here is this one. Very nice figure of Danny Rand, the immortal blah blah blah. Now here he is with his old boss and the guy who hooked him up with the job there on the left. Scumbags all. Here he is next to Magneto and Mystique. Sabretooth being on basically that onslaught wave Captain America body, he's not standing too tall. Speaking of that Captain America, as well as the Hulk, just to see him in contrast with the wider Marvel U. Here he is next to the Toy Biz releases from the early 90s. I preferred that tighter look with the full gloves and boots. You're a grown man, tighten it up a little. But the way this thing looks, man, it is such a cream-filled pleasure. Here he is next to McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse Superwoman, and Green Lantern. Bit small, isn't it? Wrapping it up with a standard 6-inch size comparison, here he is with another blast from his past, the spectacular symbiote Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Morning Coffee, mostly Bucky Cap Deadpool. Okay, how about one more thing while we're here, so I'm not like half-assing it, maybe 3/4 assing it. Of course, this would take a little fine-tuning, but even just that is close enough to show you what that could be like. Maybe that's more animated series proportions too, or in general how he appeared in the 90s, looking a little bit bigger without being as big as, say, this, you know. And this one actually has a hole to accommodate that. Also is not terrible, but you miss those butterfly cuts. That's bigger here, and they're both bigger, of course, than the Hyperion body. But just to give an idea, you know. So at the end of the day, where do we stand? You know, I love this character, and I love this design. Even as a child, that fascinated me. The Wolverine's arch nemesis. He debuted as an Iron Fist villain, but Wolverine himself debuted as like a throwaway Hulk villain, you know? So it was all gravy. My first Sabretooth action figure was that Toy Biz version of that same costume, with its little He-Man style flip around damaged chest dealy. I just can't get over how clean this figure looks overall. I think they did a really great job with the look of it, the paint. The head it's done really well. Once again, here we are. But I think it's going to be really divisive. I would have preferred something more John Byrne-esque or just a second option. The articulation is really solid too. I would prefer butterfly shoulders on a Sabretooth. And man, you just can't give us figures with no accessories, especially if it's like a figure. I don't think there's any chance of a re-release, you know what I mean? With more accessories. That hurts. That hurts me. I love this character. I know a lot of people maybe don't care about Sabretooth or this rendition. We're pissed about the head, pissed about the body. I think this is really good. I like this figure quite a lot. That's why it chaps me that much extra that I don't have like fists or swappable heads. $23, $25. Can I recommend it? Sure. If you're a fan of this character, I do. It sucks to recommend something without accessories, but we're building the Bonebreaker thing here too. Here's a question though: is this thing gonna clearance out somewhere? Are we gonna see entire cases of Sabretooth here within the next month, and people just aren't gonna care enough, and we're gonna see price drops on it? That's a solid maybe. That's a solid maybe. Times I'll think I can peg that figure, and then I don't, and then you passed on it, and now it's... You know what I mean. You guys all know what I mean. Anyway, I love the figure itself. Not at all a value with 0 accessories, though. Come on now. But thank you guys for stopping by here. All this for free? What a value. It won't cost you a thing. Except your soul! Leave me a like if you're feeling generous. Check out some of my other videos. And check me out on Insta. Toy Lips, of course. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.